There's a Japanese philosophy that samurai used before going into combat, and the lack of this philosophy applied to your life might be exactly what's preventing you from acting on what you most want to achieve. Nowadays, we live in the information age, the era where you have access to everything: courses, mentorship, strategies, data, analytics. With all the knowledge available today, anyone could start a business, study, and learn about any subject. Anyone could make a lot of money, for example. But we know that this is not the reality we live in. Even with so much knowledge available, many people still face many difficulties in life that theoretically could be easily solved. Which makes me think about the following question. The problem today isn't a lack of information, it's a lack of action. We have access to so much information that we become paralyzed. We don't know which path to follow, who to listen to, and this makes us hesitate. You're thinking about starting a business, but you spend months researching, thinking about changing careers, but spending years planning it. You might be thinking about bringing a personal project to life, but you analyze so many details that you end up losing interest in the idea. And then you ask yourself, why can't I just do what I want? The answer is simple. You overthink things. And no, overthinking doesn't mean you're lazy, unmotivated, or not ambitious enough. Overthinking can have deeper roots. Some quotes on the internet say that modern humans make an average of 35,000 decisions per day. However, more reliable studies suggest that we make an average of 400 to 1,000 decisions per day. Here we are talking about conscious decisions, or those that involve some mental effort, even if it is small. And every decision requires mental energy, analysis, comparison, prediction of results. Now multiply that by your fears, by your insecurities, by your expectations. The result, paralysis by analysis. You get so busy thinking about how to do it that you never actually do it. The Japanese have known the symptoms of overthinking for centuries, so much so that they developed a concept, a kind of mental state that frees you from overthinking. They have a name for that state, Ku no Sekai, the world of emptiness. But don't be fooled by the name. It's not about emptying the mind in a mystical or abstract way. It's about something much more practical and revolutionary, to act without the interference of excessive thinking. Miyamoto Musashi, the great Japanese samurai. If you've been following this channel for a while, you already know exactly who he is. He wrote the following in his last book, The Book of Five Rings. In the void, there is good, but not evil. Wisdom exists. Principle exists. The way exists. And the mind is empty. He wasn't talking about Zen meditation. He was talking about survival. Because in a sword duel, if you stop to think, you die. There's no let me analyze his movement. There's no I'm going to calculate the ideal angle. You simply act, often on instinct, or he dies trying to think. And here is the brutal truth. Your life isn't so different from a sword duel, not in the literal sense, of course, but every time an opportunity presents itself, you have two paths: act or think until the opportunity disappears. And most people choose the second one, not because she wants to, but because she was trained to do so. School taught you to analyze. The market taught you to compare. Society taught you to fear making mistakes. And now you're trapped in an endless cycle of overthinking, thinking, analyzing, planning, but never acting, until all that's left is regret. What if I had tried? This is the saddest phrase in the human language. But there is a way out, and it doesn't involve thinking more, it involves thinking less. It involves understanding the concept of Kuno Sekai, a world where you act without preconception, where you flow without resistance, where you live without the prison of excessive thinking. Does it seem impossible? Maybe, but it works. And I'm going to show you exactly how in this video. But before we continue, I invite you to comment below. What is that thing you want to do but get stuck just thinking about it? Starting a business, a career change, a personal project? Answer below. Now let me tell you a story that might change the way you view overthinking. Chapter 1. The Woman Who Never Started. The story I'm about to tell you can be applied to any situation, whether it's business, studies, or relationships. Do you know that person who everyone knows is going to be successful in life? The one who has natural talent, who solves problems that no one else can, who, when she speaks, everyone listens. But for some reason, it never moves. This was the case with Emily Carter. Emily was 28 years old. She had a degree in business administration. She worked as an analyst at a medium-sized company. But everyone who worked with her knew Emily wasn't cut out to be an analyst. She was made to lead. Whenever there was a problem on the team, it was Emily who solved it. Every time a project stalled, it was Emily who unblocked it. Whenever a customer was dissatisfied, it was Emily who turned the situation around. She had something that you can't teach in college, business vision, and everyone saw it, except her. Because Emily suffered from the problem we're discussing in this video, she overthought things and not about other people's problems, about her own. Every time an opportunity arose, Emily went into analysis mode. A colleague once suggested she start a consulting firm. She spent 3 months researching business model, pricing, positioning, competition, profit margin, tax risk. When she finally decided she was ready, the opportunity had passed. The market had changed, and the fear had grown. Once again, a friend invited her to become a partner in a startup. She spent 2 months considering it. And while she was analyzing the situation, her friend found another partner, and the startup took off without her. Emily wasn't indecisive. She was a prisoner of her own mind. Was she afraid? Yes. But it wasn't fear that stopped her. It was an attempt to eliminate fear through thought. And the more she thought about it, the more reasons she found not to act. What if it goes wrong? What if I'm not good enough? What if I lose everything? These questions have no answer, because they are questions about the future, and the future doesn't exist yet. But Emily believed that if she thought enough, she could control the future. Spoiler alert, you can't. Nobody can. And that was exactly what Keiko came to teach her. Chapter 2. The Meeting with Keiko. Keiko was 56 years old, Japanese, born in Kyoto, moved to the United States at age 30. She had a small interior design company. Nothing huge, but it was a solid and profitable business. It was also very respected. Keiko met Emily at a business fair. Emily was there representing the company where she worked. Keiko was exhibiting her work. But what caught Keiko's attention wasn't Emily's portfolio. It was the way she spoke. Emily was presenting a project to a client, and Keiko, who was passing by, stopped to listen. The way Emily articulated ideas, how she transformed complex problems into simple solutions, how she read the client's needs before they even spoke. Keiko saw something that Emily didn't see: wasted potential. After the presentation, Keiko approached. "You're very good at what you do," Keiko said, with a soft but firm accent. Emily smiled, embarrassed. "Thank you. I do what I can." "No, you do more than you can. But you do it for others, not for yourself." Emily was speechless. Keiko continued. "I have a proposal. I'm expanding my company. I need someone who understands strategy, people, and business, someone like you. Would you be willing to participate in a business meeting with me and learn more about my company? Who knows, we might become partners." Emily felt her heart race. It was exactly what she had always wanted. A real opportunity, with someone experienced, in a market she admired. But instead of saying yes, she said, "Can I think about it?" Keiko smiled, not with happiness, but with recognition. "Sure. Let me know when you decide." And Emily left there with her head exploding. Chapter 3. The Prison of the Mind. Emily spent the next 3 weeks thinking. "I wasn't sleeping well. I was making spreadsheets, analyzing scenarios, reading about societies, researching interior design. What if I don't know enough about design? What if Keiko is difficult to work with? What if the company doesn't grow? What if I lose my stability?" Each question generated 10 more, and each answer generated 100 doubts. She wanted all the guarantees before saying yes, but life offers no guarantees. After 3 weeks, Keiko called. "Emily, have you decided?" Emily stammered. I'm still analyzing some things. I need to make sure that..." Keiko interrupted, gently but directly. Let's have coffee. Tomorrow. I need to tell you something. Emily accepted, with a knot in her stomach, but that conversation changed everything. They met at a small, quiet coffee shop. Keiko ordered green tea. Emily, coffee. Very strong. Emily, Keiko began, looking into her eyes, why haven't you accepted yet? Emily took a deep breath. I'm afraid I'm not ready, that I don't know enough, that I'll fail. Keiko nodded. And when do you think you'll be ready? Emily remained silent. Never, said Keiko, because you're not waiting to be ready. You're waiting to be sure. And certainty doesn't exist. Emily felt a lump in her throat. Keiko continued. In Japan, there's a concept my grandfather taught me when I was young. He practiced kendo, the art of the sword, and he always said, Kuno Sekai, the world of emptiness. Emily frowned. A world of emptiness? Yes, but it's not devoid of purpose, it's devoid of interference, devoid of excessive thinking, devoid of paralyzing fear. Keiko paused, took a sip of her tea. When you fight with a sword, if you stop to think about your next move, you die. There's no time for analysis, there's no room for doubt. You simply act. Your body knows what to do. Your mind just needs to get out of the way. Emily listened, mesmerized. Do you know why I invited you to be my partner? Keiko asked. No. Because I saw in you what you don't see. Competence, talent, vision. But I also saw something else. You're stuck, not for lack of ability, but for overthinking. Emily felt tears welling up in her eyes. Because it was true. I used to be like you, Keiko said softly. When I came to the United States, I was afraid of failing, afraid of not belonging, afraid of losing everything. And I almost didn't start my company because of that. I almost got stuck thinking about it. What has changed? Emily asked. I remembered Kuno Sekai. I remembered that thinking doesn't eliminate fear. Acting does. You'll never be certain. But you can have courage. And courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action despite it. Keiko held Emily's hand. You don't need to know everything. You just need to start. The path is made by walking, not by thinking about walking. Emily rubbed her eyes, and for the first time in weeks she felt something different. Emily felt a sense of clarity. I accept, she said. I want to be your partner. Keiko smiled. Great. We start on Monday. Chapter 4. The Awakening of the Flow. Emily didn't sleep that night, but it wasn't anxiety. It was excitement. She started researching about Kuno Sekai, and the more he read, the more he understood. It wasn't about not thinking. It was about not letting thought paralyze you. It was about acting with total presence but without attachment to the outcome. It was about trusting the process, not the control. She found texts about Miyamoto Musashi, about the Book of Five Rings, about the concept of mushin, the mind without a mind, and everything started to make sense. Every time she had struggled in life, it wasn't for lack of information. It was for over-analysis. She didn't need more data. She needed less mental interference. On Monday, Emily started working with Keiko, and in the very first few days he noticed something. Keiko didn't plan excessively. When a customer placed an order, Keiko didn't spend weeks sketching. She sketched, showed, adjusted, and delivered. It doesn't have to be perfect on the first try, Keiko said. It just needs to be plausible. We can adjust the rest along the way. Emily, who always hoped everything would be perfect before showing it, was shocked. But it worked. Customers loved the agility, the transparency, the collaborative evolution, and Emily began to internalize that. He stopped waiting for the perfect plan, and he started acting with the plan that was possible. He stopped being afraid of making mistakes, and he started seeing mistakes as feedback. He stopped thinking about all the variables, and he started to flow with the ones that mattered. And something magical happened. The company grew. Not because Emily became smarter, but because she became freer. free from the prison of overthinking, free from the need to control everything, free to simply do. And within 6 months, the partnership between Emily and Keiko was flourishing. They weren't just business partners, they were friends. And Emily was experiencing something she never imagined, purpose with lightness. Chapter 5. The Invitation. A year later, Keiko called Emily to talk. "I'm going to visit my family in Japan, in Kyoto, and I want you to come with me." Emily's eyes widened. "Seriously?" "Yes, I want to introduce you to the community there, people who live the Kuno Sekai every day, artisans, masters, simple yet profound people." Emily felt a chill. "You gave me a new life," Keiko said. "Now I want to give you a new perspective." They traveled 2 weeks later, and what Emily experienced in Japan changed her. She met a master potter who didn't measure. He didn't plan. He simply molded, and each piece was unique. "If I think too much, the clay senses it, and it doesn't flow," he said. She met a sushi chef who didn't follow strict recipes. She felt the fish, she felt the rice, and she created. Food is not science, it's art, and art isn't thought about, it's felt. She met a kendo practitioner who at 70 years old still trained every day. "I don't fight the opponent, I flow with him. When he attacks, I've already moved, not because I thought about it, but because my body knew." And finally, Emily fully understood the Kuno Sekai. It wasn't about being reckless. It wasn't about not being prepared. It wasn't about ignorance. It was about act from the essence, not from fear. It was about trust in what you already know, instead of endlessly searching for what you don't know. It was about live in the moment, without the illusion that you can control the future. When Emily returned to the United States, she was no longer the same. She hadn't eliminated fear, but she had learned not to let it control her. She didn't have all the answers, but she had learned that she didn't need to. She didn't control the future, but she had learned to build it, one step at a time. Chapter 6. The Science Behind the Void. But let me show you that this isn't just abstract Eastern philosophy. Modern science proves every piece of the concept of Ku no Sekai. Some researchers conducted a study where they analyzed the brains of people during periods of peak performance. Athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, surgeons, and they discovered something fascinating. During peak performance, the prefrontal cortex was less active. This is the part of the brain responsible for conscious thought, planning, and analysis. In other words, when you perform at your best, you think less. Another study measured the reaction time of elite athletes, and they discovered that when they tried to consciously control their movements, their performance dropped. Why? Because the brain's automatic motor system is infinitely faster than conscious thought. You process approximately 11 million bits of information per second, but only 40 reach his consciousness. The rest, it's processed automatically. And when you try to bring everything to consciousness, you overload the system. It's like trying to drive while thinking about every movement. Now I'm going to turn the steering wheel 15 degrees. Now I'm going to press the pedal with 20% force. You crash the car, because driving isn't something you think about. It's something you feel. Some people will call this phenomenon neural efficiency, or the state of flow, and life is the same. Kuno Sekai. It's not mysticism. It's applied neuroscience. It's about understanding that your body, your intuition, your accumulated experience know much more than your conscious mind can process. And when you stop interfering, you perform at your peak. The samurai knew this 400 years ago. Today we call it the flow state. But it's the same concept and the same truth. Chapter 7. How to live the Kuno Sekai. Now you must be thinking, okay, I understand, but how do I apply this in practice? Here's the secret. You don't try to apply it. You remove what's getting in the way. First, stop searching for certainty. Seek clarity. Certainty is about the future. Clarity is about the present. You can never be certain if a business venture will succeed, but you can have clarity about why you want to do it. And clarity is enough to get started. Second, train until you don't need to think anymore. If you want to be good at something, practice until the movement becomes instinct. Emily didn't get good at business by reading about business. She got good at doing business, repeatedly, until the body learns. Third, aha little one, but aha fast. You don't need to have the perfect plan. You need to have the next step clear, and take that step today, not tomorrow, not when it's ready, today. Fourth point, accept the error as part of the process. Water never misses. It simply flows around the obstacle. Did you make a mistake? Flow into the next move. Did it fail? Move on to your next attempt. Ko no Sekai. It's not about perfection, it's about continuous movement. And fifth, trust the process, not the result. You don't control whether it will work, but you do control whether you try. And when you live in the process, the result comes as a natural consequence, not as a goal, as a byproduct of being present. Chapter 8. The Final Paradox. Here is the deepest truth of all. You will never reach Kuno Sekai because you are already in it. Think about it. When you were a child, you didn't think about playing, you just played. When you were completely immersed in something you loved, you didn't think about doing it, you just did it. When you experienced your best flow moment, you weren't trying to get into the flow, you simply were in the flow, Kuno Sekai. It's not something you learn, it's something you remember. It's about unlearning overthinking. Here it's about relearning to live without the illusion of total control. It's about returning to the natural state before all the fear, all the expectations, all the voices telling you that you need to be sure before acting. Emily understood that. Today, she and Keiko have a growing business, but more importantly, she has peace. Peace with not knowing. Peace with the process. Peace with error. And this peace doesn't make her any less productive. It makes her freer. And freedom, that's true success, because titles you can lose, money you can lose, status you can lose, but freedom, once you find it, freedom never abandons you. Miyamoto Musashi, at the end of the Book of Five Rings, wrote, "When you understand the way, you will see the way in all things." He wasn't talking about swords. He was talking about life. Why Kuno Sekai? It's not a technique, it's a way of being. It's about waking up without the anxiety of what needs to be done, and simply doing it. It's about making decisions without the paralyzing weight of doubt, and simply choosing. It's about living without the illusion that you need to have everything figured out before you begin, and simply begin. And perhaps life always wanted you to live like this, flowing, present, free, but you were too busy thinking about her to realize that you were already in her. So here's the final invitation. Pare de overthinking. Start flowing, and discover that Kuno Sekai isn't somewhere far away. It's here, now, at this very moment. You just need to stop looking and begin to be. If this video touched you in any way, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. There's much more content like this coming soon. Leave a like and comment. What's that one thing you want to do, but freeze up just thinking about it? Thank you very much for your attention. And remember, be present, walk with honor, follow the path. See you in the next video.